UFC 162, the Fan Expo, and so much to talk about. You are listening to Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is easier from outside the cage. I'm Kevin. With me, the man who's still in Vegas, Raf Esparza. Raf, how are you doing tonight?
I'm still here.
You're still here. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
You guys will see a preview that we're about to release on the website, but Raf just barely made it back in time and was conscious. What time did you go to sleep this morning?
I don't think you want to know. I think you know what? I texted you right before.
You did. That's why I'm asking you the question. You texted me around 7:30 my time.
Yes.
Saying that you were going to bed, which would put you in bed somewhere around the 5 o'clock range.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that.
That's what you're supposed to do in Las Vegas. So, of course, we're going to talk Silva Weidman, and we're going to tease it. And tease is, sort of the theme. Big shock.
You're telling people we're teasing it? Like you
literally
are signposting.
Well, I thought it was a nice play on the word tease. We're gonna try and not get knocked out halfway through it though, before we get to that part. So I did text you right before the fight that just said I had butterflies.
Yeah, and I'll talk about what was happening to me when that actually went down. But it was strange, and we're gonna talk. Like, we have a whole amount of time that we have dedicated to just that topic, so don't you guys worry.
But before we get to that, you guys, and let's introduce
yes,
the
please. He's just standing here waiting to be introduced.
Standing there, yes.
He's standing. He's got his hands on his hips, just being like, "All right, Kevin, stop being a dick. I know you're jealous of me, John Evans."
From BJJBreakdown.com is
Correct.
Here with us. He's with you. He's with us metaphorically, because I still consider us a team, but you two are very clear that out there. What's going on, John? How's Vegas treating you?
Hey, how's it going? I thought I heard you say BJJBreakdown.com. I came running.
We're working on a bat signal, but it's way more expensive than just a bat because, as you know, there are a lot of characters in BJJBreakdown.com. You guys need to start telling me everything from the Fan Expo. What's it like as you two are on the ground deployed to UFC's biggest week? This is the biggest week for them.
Yeah,
what's going on?
It was a split of the most exciting and the most confusing at the exact same time.
Now,
if that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And I'm going to ask this just because of my nerdiness. I always, organizations like the UFC are still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, of what it means to handle PR, press, social media. Like, every day it gets bigger.
Yeah.
More jackasses with microphones are creating podcasts and different things.
Like
us.
So
that was my text. That was my phone. My apologies to the fans.
I like that happened exactly as you were talking about those jackasses who have podcasts that just randomly pop up.
Yeah,
unprofessional.
Obviously
right?
Planned. Why was it disorganized? What was chaotic about it?
It's not so much that the event is in disarray. It's more so that the fans drive it. So if you have crazy fans who are attacking fighters, they're in control. And the whole thing is very fan-friendly. So it is very nice to give fans that ability to go and, meet some of their favorite fighters. But, I saw some people who were waiting for, Cain Velasquez at the Golden Nugget to get some, signed gloves.
The Golden Nugget. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Albert.
They were waiting to get some signed gloves, and a UFC person, told them, hey, we're past capacity and nobody's going to get in past that time. And this guy who has undoubtedly 19 Mexican children just goes, no, but I need these gloves to be signed. And it's terrifying in that regard. But a lot of the fighters really do a good job. They spend time, a good amount with people. They sign just about everything. I think their poor hands are cramped now from it. But yeah, the fans can be crazy and they can sway it. And some people go to a lot of things, and make big fan events. Like Chael Sonnen had a big turnout, and then some people don't go to Jay Glazer's thing.
Oh, quick side note, since he's here to be our technical expert, John Evans, does signing a lot of autographs cramp your hand, do you know?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, it does.
Perfect answer, John. Thank you. Ref, back to you. Nice.
How bad does a cramped hand impede your ability to pull off a submission?
Not horribly. So if the fans really want that autograph, they shouldn't feel bad. They should just come right up, and I'll trudge through.
Okay, because I'm just thinking, like, we wouldn't want the fans to, like, cost you a match. Where you, like, afterwards, after a competition, just go, guys, I had that Kimura.
Well, I'll probably still blame it on the fans.
Definitely.
Yeah, it probably didn't have anything to do with it.
Coming in the future, John Evans' shortest line for an autograph session ever.
And more conspiracy theories about carpal tunnel in the UFC. Yes. So, okay, now start telling me about some of the excitement. You already drifted into Chael Sonnen, whom I assume he, John Jones, and Anderson Silva just have huge flocks of people waiting for them at all times.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to see all of Chael's thing. I just saw like a smidge of Chael talking, and it was interesting because there's so much stuff happening at the expo. You just have to keep your wits about you because fighters are just walking everywhere. Like, some of them are being handled by the UFC and being like, hey, you need to go to this booth. And, like, I ran into Jimmy Quinlan just randomly. And because Jimmy had never actually, met us, he just knew we were those jerks who told jokes about the Ultimate Fighter. Like, the minute he, like, put one and one together, he saw me wearing a Verbal Tap t-shirt, and he's like, oh, hey, good to see you. And I'm like, is it?
Thanks. I mean, yeah, it's great to see you, too.
I guess, dude, it's cool. But yeah, like, you just turn around and there's something happening everywhere. And so all of these different vendors take out spots at the expo. And they get certain fighters
vendor,
to
you
come.
mean Muscle Farm?
Yes. And a lot of other ones. John, what was one of your favorite vendors that you saw there?
I really liked Harley Davidson because they had this ridiculous, like, monster truck thing. That
They had a what?
It was like a weird UFC on wheels / Harley Davidson marketing.
Just imagine the world's biggest Humvee.
Okay.
And / tank. Then times it by the size of 2 and put TVs on the sides of that car that are playing UFC, surrounded by motorcycles.
It was incredible. It was a beautiful thing.
It took up so much space. It didn't make any sense.
It really felt like America. It was 4th of July for sure.
It did. I thought it was going to transform into, like, Optimus Prime at some point. That's how big it was.
Most obscure product. Was there a product you saw that you were like, what the fuck is... I've never heard of that.
You know, we had a few. But there was one guy, I forget. He started one of those...
Cults?
Yes. We had a cult there. They were great.
Hey.
It was well attended, but nobody really left it.
Okay.
The interesting thing is, when this guy, he started his own scoring system. So he has an app that you can go and score your own thing. And it's kind of like our friends, You Score It on Twitter, but he did his own version. And he created his own point system on how to score a fight based on his own criteria. And I actually got a chance to interview him. So we're going to throw like some of these videos up that I got with some of the Vendo experts. But this poor guy, I went up to him and I was like, hey, dude, we're going to have fun at your expense. Are you cool with that? And he goes, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good sport.
Yeah, and at one point, I might have told him, as he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I developed this whole thing, and it's great, and I really am excited about doing this, and I love when people sign in and show you how many points that you can lose if you do this, or how many points you get if you do this in a round. And I go, so you clearly hate your family. And he's just kind of like, and I go, because you invented something to do to take you away from spending any time from them. And he's like, funny story, my wife. And I'm like, not funny story. You've killed your wife. clearly this is what's happened. And he was great. He actually went with every joke I threw at him. So that was kind of weird. We had one guy who was selling like gis, and I went to go ask him. I'm like, "Oh, can you tell me about your gis?" And he didn't speak a lick of English. He just goes, no. I go, "This can't do well for your business. Like, I just want to ask you, what is this gi made out of?" Thank you. All right. Well,
did he by chance speak Portuguese?
I don't want to tell you.
Okay, just ask.
There are a few gi vendors, so I don't want to give away which one was bad, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Which one had trouble communicating.
Yeah.
What is are you guys at Fan Expo as press, or are you there just as fans? That was one thing I was curious about.
Raph was there just as a fan, but the rest of us were there as press, actually doing real work and not harassing the fighters for autographs.
No, I was there as press as well, as John is being a dick right now.
No, come on. Raph, I saw your 28 selfies you took with different people you could find around the ski. You couldn't even get someone to take a picture. So yeah, if you ever want to see Raph's personal inventory picture book, it's him with an arm around every cardboard cutout you could find in Las Vegas.
You're so stupid, Kevin. You're just absolutely stupid. I dare someone to find a selfie of me that I took at the UFC Fan Expo.
UFC Fan Expo selfies. So you're there as press. Does that get you any backstage access to some of these guys? Or is it pretty much they're really sticklers about this is for the fans?
They really make a concerted effort to say the fighters are for the fans. And they give you a little bit of a window to go shoot stuff. So it's it's a nice thing. They give you some time. They send you up with somebody who's like, "Hey, we're going to watch to make sure you're not being crazy and making anything look ridiculous," which I was like, "Ooh, we really need one of those." And they were cool. They let us walk around, and the fighters, if you do run into a couple, they kind of let you chat with them, but you're not supposed to take them away from any of the fans. So it was cool because the fighters get it, and they're really cool about it, and everybody's super agreeable and super happy. Like, that's the weirdest part about this experience, because so many times with fighters, everybody comes up to them and is just like, "I hate you." But this is a super positive event. That's what I kept seeing about that. Was that something you saw, John?
Yeah, no, definitely. Everyone was there. They were just there as fans. They weren't there to, it was much different in the actual arena when the fights were going on and people booing and being kind of jackasses to normal fan stuff. At the expo, everyone was just super happy to see all the fighters, and the fighters also were very gracious with their time, and it was a cool event.
A lot of crying, a lot of "I love yous."
Yeah, and then Raph left the hotel.
So
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead.
It's all in one location? Is there multiple ballrooms, or is there literally just one ballroom that's big enough for this thing?
It's one ballroom that's big enough. It's the Mandalay Bay Expo Center. So it's just super opened up, and they even didn't use full capacity of it. And they broke some things up. Like the Gracies had a seminar that was downstairs in a smaller version of a room, but that was really one of the only things they broke up, which is cool because you got to see 100 people on the mats with the Gracies. And you got to hear Henner just being like, "No, but the essence of this move is when you do it, you are learning, but you are learning about jiu-jitsu and life." And I was like, "Guys, I think I just discovered the tree of life right now. Right now, this all happened."
Since you took it to the mats, Grappler's Quest, part of the Fan Expo, tell me, did you guys get to go see it?
Yes, we did, and John was live on the scene reporting from that.
I was live on the scene reporting. There were some really good fights. There's a bunch of super fights. There were a couple that were from UFC fighters. We had Dodson versus Jorgensen, and it was just no-gi grappling. So it was really interesting to see them in that type of a venue where there's no striking allowed, to see how skilled these guys are on the ground. I was actually pretty impressed. Cole Miller also fought Jim Miller. Yeah, Jim Miller. And that was a fantastic fight. So was the Jorgensen one was as well. And then we were able to interview some of the fighters afterwards. There were big jiu-jitsu names, too, like Dean Lister was there, Joel Assis, Lapella fought. Who else fought? Jeff Glover. Awesome job.
I love watching Jeff Glover fight, so that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Well, not only that, but John got to speak with him.
I did. I got a little post-fight interview with him after he competed. So, just a great guy, and like you said, very, very exciting. So it was awesome. Big turnout too. Really surprised. A bunch of my teammates were up there reffing, and I think some of them were competing as well. So had a bunch of family in the neighborhood. It was really cool.
That's awesome. How do you resist getting on the mats? What's the strategy?
You don't. You just get out there. I saw Dean Lister, and I'm like, that's it. Rolling toe hold. I'm going for it. And he couldn't stop it. So
I'm gonna tap this mother.
I did wonder. I was like, this is unusual for Evans to just beat someone up naturally, but it just happened, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know Dean's a lot bigger than me, and probably a lot better than I am too. But
no, I'm sure he would fall for a toe lock. That seems.
Yeah.
Actually, can we say something real quick? What was the most unique thing that you saw Dean Lister do during the matches?
So I got an interview with Dean Lister as well post-fight, and he mentioned this too, because I'm glad he did, because it was the gorilla in the room. Because in the match, his goal was clear. He wanted to footlock the crap out of his opponent, and he was in the finals, and he did not want to play the takedown game so much. I mean, he'd come up on a single leg. He would allow his opponent to come up on a single leg as well. He would do the basics of the takedown game, but he really wanted to be in half guard. He really wanted to go for footlocks, and if he was on top, he would work it out from there as well. But because he was so hesitant to stand up, at one point he was on all fours, and he was just it just looked a little weird. He was just running around on all fours, and he started barking like a dog. And it's really, everyone in the crowd was like, did I just hear that? I'm not sure what just happened.
What was the strategy?
I don't know, but that's the thing, though. Dean Lister is such high-level jiu-jitsu that then you're like, well, maybe there's something to this.
Should I be barking?
Maybe this is the new style. It's bark style.
So, Kev, I think John and I decided that when we go back to Valley Martial Arts this week, I will be utilizing barking as part of my new arsenal to see what happens. I invite you.
I'm 100% behind the idea, and I think you should, but I do need you to videotape that so we can show the world.
I'll get it on video.
I'm sure John will get it on video, whether I know it or not. But I'll tell you this, Kevin, I give that to you for your competition.
It's true. If I don't see bark style coming out of you for your next tournament, I'm going to be disappointed.
John's entire BJJ breakdown of your match is going to be, well, Kevin didn't bark at this point, and that's why he lost.
That's it.
And then just keep pointing out opportunities where I could have stopped and leapt off for a nice. It's like right there where you have two hands on the ground. You could have broken off into a full bark. Zero problems.
Yep, it's true. I mean, it's foregone conclusion. We know you're not going to do it now. Yeah. I'm already upset about it, and you're going to lose because of it.
Well,
sorry,
Kev.
I appreciate it.
The other thing is, with the Grappler's Quest, it was cool to see it. It was a nice inclusion into the expo. Like, it made... Like, I like seeing things that make an expo come alive and are active. And so when you get to see UFC fighters actually participating in it, it just makes it seem all the more exciting. Because you almost are seeing fights, but you're seeing a version of the sport that makes it so great.
I'm completely with you, and I always love because they release them on YouTube, and you get to end up just seeing some really cool people fight that you wouldn't normally. And if you're kind of a grappling nerd, which a good chunk of people that are MMA nerds are, you just want to see the grappling side of it too. So yeah, that sounds cool. And did you guys by chance steal me a rash guard that they're giving out?
They were giving out a rash guard there?
Did you contemplate stealing me a rash guard? Did you think, size somebody up? Was the Barker my size? You could have attacked him.
Well, no. You are like 5 sizes too short for that size. But I'll tell you this much, man. There's definitely so much free clothing and T-shirts and stuff being thrown around that you almost start stealing them. You almost just start taking them from people and being like, "Oh, yep, those gloves are mine."
You know how like expos with like IT firms, they give away like little different apps or calculators or things or like IT gadgets. I was really hoping it was going to be roughly the same thing. You guys are going to walk out with like 50 rash guards, a few different pairs of board shorts. Just be like, I couldn't walk 5 feet without getting a free gi top just handed to me or patches. I don't know. I guess they don't give out.
Kevin, when we put together our Verbal Tap Expo, that'll be one of the requirements that we do.
We'll get the guy that doesn't speak English there. Just
we strike a nice rapport with.
Yeah, I'm happy to suggest. I want to audition that person. Mm-hmm. All right, gentlemen, we're 21 minutes in, which gives me a great chance to stop and remind people, if you're listening to the show via iTunes, head on over, give us a little bit of a rating, just so we can know you're out there.
Kevin, don't say a little bit of a rating.
We don't want a lot of bit of a rating.
Well, I don't want them to feel daunted by the work. I want it to be an easy task. I want them to just
when you say a little bit of a rating, it sounds like, just give us like a star. Like, give us 5 stars.
Look, Gestapo, I'm not going to tell people how to vote.
Don't call me a Gestapo. You're a Gestapo. Look, I'm telling you, don't tell people to lowly rate us.
I was not telling them to lowly rate us. Look,
but you're subliminally telling them to lowly rate us because you don't know what the language of the King's English sounds like.
Yeah, Raph just said that out loud, so that's a great
right,
turning point.
Because
King's
I'm trying
English
to tell you, you're
is what
a fucking
he's screaming
idiot.
about. Wait, Vegas makes him aggressive. But find out his softer side over at VerbalTapCast.com and follow us on Twitter, VerbalTapCast. You can hear all of Raph and occasionally Mai's hilarious comments about what's going on. Gentlemen, are you ready to transition to the main event?
If you're talking about UFC 162, then yes.
I am talking about UFC 162, and we're going to have to lead off.
Okay.
We have to, with the moment that everybody's screaming and trying to understand what happened in that moment where Anderson Silva gets knocked out by Chris Weidman.
Okay, let me first start by telling you this. So I'm in the arena, and when the pre-package starts and the video is rolling for Chris Weidman, I'm starting to get excited. Like I'm really now feeling I'm going to see this fight, and I'm really happy it's going to happen. And the lights go down, and Tom Petty's "I Won't Back Down" starts playing, and I swear to God, Kev, when the lights went completely dark, I got a chill. Like the hairs on the back of my neck started like standing up. It's that moment that you're just super excited. And I've been to tons of fights, but that was the first time that's ever happened. And it felt like something weird was in the air. Now, this is how I knew it was more than just a random occurrence, because moments after I was like, this feels like a weird chill is in the air, Kevin texted me and just wrote butterflies. And I'm like, I'm not alone. Kevin and I now have twin power. We now feel the exact same, feeling. And he's not even in the arena. So, it's not crazy. There's something weird in the air. Something's going to happen. And boy, did it.
There was a weird electricity to everything from Anderson Silva's walkout to just the way his face looked. It just felt like something weird and unexpected was about to happen.
Now, that's just us. John, what did you feel as the fight was starting?
Yeah, I mean, same thing, honestly. We weren't sitting next to each other, so I...
By my preference.
Yes, yeah, Yes,
It was like, sit him further away from me, please.
That was beautiful. But it worked out for the best because then I didn't have to sit next to you as well. So, but being in a completely different area, I mean, I felt the same exact thing. The crowd was crazy. People, everyone around me stood up.
Yeah.
Just for the walk-in, and they didn't sit back down.
Yeah.
Probably till halfway through. I don't know.
Yeah.
The first minute, 2 minutes, something like that. It was just nuts.
It was really weird to see. Now, Kevin, walk us through what it was that you saw on TV, and I'll tell you what it looked like live.
In the fight, or as they're walking out?
No, now we're in the fight.
Gotcha. So here's what I saw, and this is kind of my recap on just the fight in general. In the first round, I thought we saw Anderson Silva more lethal and more confident than ever before. Sure, he's doing his stupid intro taunting that I guess I had chalked up to, he's just going to do that for the beginning just to sort of really shame this kid before he knocks him out. And the way he was swinging in the punches, it looked like he was in control. Even when he got taken down, his jiu-jitsu just seemed never in compromise, very efficiently gets out of it. And then in the second round, it just looked like he was literally going...
Let's not go to the second round yet. There's still more in the first round.
He gets taken down. He gets back up. He really lands some strikes.
When I saw him get taken down, it was a little nerve-wracking, but it wasn't detrimental. Like, you've seen this before, so you know he's going to be really calm. So you can kind of, you've seen this before, so you know how to work with it. One thing that I thought was interesting, and John can speak on this, was it weird to see Chris Weidman trying for a leg lock?
It was. I was really worried about the whole game plan of Weidman going into this, just because I thought, okay, he has the ability. He can make this happen. He can finish. But when he took him down, I thought, okay, here we go. He's putting it together. He's doing the right stuff, and let's see him follow through with this. And then he goes for a foot lock. He goes for that knee bar off of, I think he was in half guard, top half guard, and he spins around for a knee bar, and it's just, unless you are a leg lock specialist, and that's, unless you're Dean Lister.
Yeah.
Aside from the barking. You typically, when you're on top, and it's MMA, if you're on top, you do not want to give up that top position. You want to beat the living daylights out of the guy below you, and you want to keep him there.
Yeah.
Going for a leg lock not only allows your opponent to come up if you don't finish, because basically it's do or die. You have to finish. If you do not finish, and it's not your specialty, you probably shouldn't be risking it, then not only do they get the opportunity to come on top, but they can also punch you in the face a lot.
It's a lot to sacrifice, essentially, in that position.
For just, you throw that up as a Hail Mary if nothing else works at the end. But you're on top, and you're a good grappler, and you've got a distinct advantage on the ground, which I believe Weidman had, then you just tee off.
But that was the interesting thing. Anderson literally just flexed out of it. So again, all pretty normal. We've seen that before. It's all kind of amazing. Now, Kevin, I didn't see what you're talking about with Anderson being so dominant until this point, when he had gotten up and it looked like he had given Weidman enough to feel a false sense of confidence at this point, and now starts to go in for his strikes and is getting a couple leg kicks. At one point, he gets pushed up against the cage a little bit. He goes out of it, turns out of it, and then says, nah, let's go back right over there. And you're like, what's the fuck? What is happening? And it's just insane, because you see Anderson now starting to feel his timing and doing his normal thing. And that's one of his best attributes, is he usually feels everybody's timing. And when he does it, that's when he does his clowning nonsense. And that's why people haven't been able to knock him out in so long. So when we finally get around to it, the end of the first round happens, and I literally text this, and I mean this in every way possible. Everybody was standing on their feet, and I tweeted out, I don't understand MMA anymore. I just don't. I have no idea what's happening. This is amazing. Everybody's enthralled because it's so exciting to see.
At the end of that first round, Weidman looked terrified, Silva looked insane, and I didn't have the ability to breathe like a human being. Like 7 butt cheek clinches later, it was just the air finally came rushing back to me as a necessity because the first round
have to count after the 4th butt cheek.
Just being specific.
Is 4 is
7 your lucky number though?
Well, 2's like that was a good round. So 7's off the charts. 7's unheard of.
It's Kevin's BC meter. You haven't.
Yeah.
You don't know this.
Oh, I don't. But
John, I hate to correct you on air, but it's actually BCC, butt cheek clinches. But that's not a big deal. I do appreciate it.
Sorry. Yeah.
Check it out at bccbreakdown.com. So,
Kevin, keep going.
The fight, the first round finishes, and I don't even remember what was happening before they get to that final position where it looked like an improv team had taken over for Silva's corner.
Yeah.
And they were now, like, handing him genres. And the genre they handed him was, hey, look knocked out, but do it cartoonishly.
Well, now we're getting into where the very pro-Brazilian crowd that we had there, who, by the way, only moments earlier had done the wave during a Roger Gracie and Tim Kennedy fights, so they're feeling extra special and rowdy.
From like a whole round.
Yeah, for a
they're
whole round.
still on a soccer high. They're, give them a few.
I tweeted at Jimmy Quinlan, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they thought soccer was happening somewhere in that arena, and that's why they did the wave. But, so the second round starts, and again, kind of pro-normal. Anderson's got his confidence, he knows his timing, but there's an interesting difference that I saw, which was he wasn't connecting either. Like, he was getting a few strikes, but even his own precision striking was a little off. And the interesting thing that Chris Weidman said in the post-presser was he was watching Anderson's hips. And that's what gave it away from him, because he saw that and was able to make a counter when he missed with one of his lead, I think it was like a lead just jab. He was able to correct himself and come back in to essentially catch Anderson as he's doing that. It was the most amazing thing to see, and you knew that at some point something like that had to happen. It just always seemed impossible. But now we get into the debate. Who lost that fight?
I wrote multiple things down. Strategy, board, conspiracy theory. My personal favorite is maybe he was just heat checking himself.
Yeah.
In basketball, when someone gets so hot that they don't think they can miss, they'll throw up like an absurd shot, and it's called a heat check. Mm. I was like, maybe Silva thinks he's invincible and was like, I have to check this. I have to see if I physically am invincible inside the octagon.
That's not too dissimilar from the way he acts all the time, and when he feels that he doesn't have an opponent that's up to his caliber, as it looked like he was doing, because he was in Chris Weidman's mind at the end of that first round.
Oh, without question.
There's a look that Weidman had as he was coming back to his corner, where he just looked like, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened to me in that last minute? And actually, I think he quoted Chael Sonnen, or somebody quoted Chael Sonnen, where they said, you get that Medusa moment when you fight Anderson Silva, because you look at him and you just like, he does those like big eyes like, yeah, you just stared into the face of Medusa, now you're going to fucking die. And it would look like it was happening, but that round in between gave him the chance to recalibrate. So the idea then becomes, did Anderson Silva just lose a fight for being a super dick and that's the entire blame of it? Or was everything that we were feeling as part of the build, like the chills, the like super excitement, the standing up? That's a really tricky question that I don't know that fans know the answer to, because I know that some fans are so pure in the sport, they just go, fuck him, he's ruined his fucking legacy. Like, he's still the fucking best in the world. Even at the end of the night, Dana's like, yeah, whatever. In a rematch, Anderson Silva's still the favorite, because no one has convinced themselves that Anderson Silva did actually put the best show he could have on last night. Let me ask you both this question. John, sure. I'm going to start with you. At the end of this fight, did you feel satisfied?
During the first round and towards the end of it, I think maybe after the first round, I texted Raph and I asked him, I said, is this fight a work? Because it looks fake. It looks like pro wrestling.
It did.
Like they had a predetermined outcome, and then they could go in there and do whatever the hell they wanted to do, and they still knew it was going to end a certain way. And that's the way it honestly looked to me. I mean, we've seen him showboat before, and we've seen him do his rope-a-dope and his normal shtick. But this was like to the nth degree. It just it didn't even look.
Stop.
It
just
didn't
wouldn't stop doing it.
And it was just crazy too. Like he was really, really playful with it. Like it was, I don't know. It was just the whole thing was surreal. And then to see him do his whole acting thing, or he pretended like he got hit, was loopy, but then to really get hit, and then I don't know. It was just so weird. And then afterwards, they asked him, do you want this rematch? And he said no. And just that whole thing, and I could definitely see the whole conspiracy theory side of it, because it really seemed just surreal and planned. So I totally understand that aspect of it.
Speaking of conspiracies, Kevin, go. Do you think there is some conspiracy? Like, what is the weirdest conspiracy theory you have about this?
Without question. You know I've already been working on this.
Probably, yes. I'm sure you stayed up and wrote the Unabomber last night.
All you can think of when you watch this fight is, okay, Anderson Silva's thrown convention out of the window before, but always in a measurable way.
I disagree with that, but go ahead.
This one had no measurement. There was no measurement in the world that was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And all he has to lose is this streak that he just doesn't really even seem to care about. So my craziest conspiracy theory is, in an attempt... Is that him on the phone right now? Are we nervous that perhaps he's calling mid? He's trying to get the biggest fight the UFC has ever recorded in history. And he's trying to do it in Brazil. And this is just part of his subtle protest for the Brazilian people to try and build them up, and that the government has been in on it. Dana White and Barack Obama worked this out so that this can help the Brazilian people.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That was what you did.
Well, I should mention that I had 3 frozen Red Bull and vodkas yesterday evening, and I'm talking late. Frozen. And the missing ingredient in making that drink both delicious and lethal was freezing it, because it was amazing.
Why did you choose to do that to yourself?
Because it tasted like a Rage slushie, and I'm an adult. It's hard to stay awake past 7, and I was at the Nats game with some friends. Nats is code for Nationals.
Yes,
Look, it's not important how my mind reached this approximation.
But that was your
it's a
biggest
government
conspiracy theory that you had, was that this was put on by the government.
Can anyone top it?
No, I'm not going to try to, because it's too stupid to do. But I definitely did start a hashtag with it, which was Anderson Silva conspiracy theories, and I'm going to keep this going.
Yeah, I think it's good. I would have just made it Silva conspiracy theories because of the spelling challenges I encounter on a daily basis. But
this is true.
But I
can
appreciate it.
And it is more characters to use. But I think if you qualify it as Anderson Silva, at least people really know who you're talking about. One of the things I thought was...
True. There are 70 Silvas in the
Which Silva? Bigfoot? But there's a great moment where I thought, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, Anderson Silva took a listening of Limp Bizkit's Rollin' a little too literally, because Fred Durst was at the expo.
Yeah.
And if you do listen to the song Rollin', which they do play a lot at UFC events, they do say hands up, hands down. So it might be a little confusing for him.
It's true. The Durst. I mean, when I think UFC, first I think the official corn stack.
Of course.
But second, I think Fred Durst.
Now, Kevin, why was Fred Durst there? Signing autographs at a UFC Fan Expo?
Wait, he was signing autographs?
Oh, yeah.
Now I don't know. I was going to say because he's captain of rage music in gyms everywhere.
Yeah! So the other thing that happens is I really love that Dana in the post-presser conference, and Dana was feeling especially talkative yesterday because that press conference, first of all, started going forever. Then he did a scrum with all of the media that I believe is the longest scrum he's ever done.
It was ridiculous.
For those who don't know, essentially a scrum is where at the end of a fight, Dana has a come-to-Jesus moment, and all of the reporters flock to him and put a camera in his face and ask him questions for as long as he'll sit there for. And I guarantee you, yesterday, it went longer than an hour.
Really?
It was
so long, and honestly, by the end of it, I think Dana won that scrum versus the media, because at the end of it, like, everybody had gotten to ask their questions, and Dana was just kind of staring at everybody, being like, is that it? And I think the press just, like, after a week full of fights and the Fan Expo, just go, we give up. You win, Dana.
You fucking win this round.
We literally asked you every question about Roy Jones. Does the rematch happen? Where does it happen? I'm just so tired.
And none of that is helping with our theory, or at least not even our theory, that this match felt a little pre-worked out.
I think that people have a nice self-fulfilling kind of thing where they want to feel like it was a work. What it was to me was a guy who's been so good at clowning other people for so long ultimately got clipped, and it just didn't work. And Silva and Weidman both understand it was a mind game tactic. And for the longest time, Weidman was the guy who put in the time and got to claim victory. So in a way, it was kind of a nice vindication for all of these people who are like, he's beatable. It's possible. It's just trying to figure out how to get that Rubik's Cube done. And he did it, and it was awesome to see, because I know where people want to talk about the legacy. I love watching Anderson Silva win, because when he's that crazy, if he had won, and Dana kept saying this all night, he's like, if he fucking won doing what he was fucking doing, you guys would be coming out here saying he's the fucking best. Oh, man, he did it again. And it's true.
That is true. That's fair.
But that's why I see it as kind of a two-leg thing. But in my brain, I wonder this. What happens with a refocused Anderson Silva? I find that that's a better way of keeping him for those 10 fights, because I feel that gives us a better sentimentality for him, because he's getting up there, and I don't know how long we have that. But I think it's an interesting scenario for him to come back from that, just for us as fans.
He's 38, isn't he?
He's 38.
Yeah, I mean, that's for a professional athlete. That's any other sport he'd be.
Yeah, now
a quarterback.
Yes.
And let me state officially for the record, I don't think Chris Weidman's better than Anderson Silva. I believe Anderson Silva was the better fighter in the cage that night, and had he taken that fight seriously, he would have probably pretty handily busted up Weidman, because he just looked like he could have inflicted damage from a distance without ever putting himself in danger. But all that feeds into... What's that?
I don't think anybody would disagree with you on that.
No, I agree, though. I'm excited to see him refocused. And honestly, maybe this is how he was... This doesn't, in my mind, change anything with the super fights. I still think the only way to find out who's better is for him and John Jones to fight.
I got bad news for you, Kev.
Not going to happen.
After the presser yesterday, Dana White looked like a shroud of, like, every pain-filled fan had finally been lifted off of him, because he goes, well, now I don't have to put these fucking super fights together, because Anderson Silva was the key. It was the greatest out for him ever, and he was excited about it, and it was tough to then realize, because some people, I think, in the media were trying to push him back and go, well, it'd still be an interesting fight to see. And Dana's like, yeah, but it wouldn't mean the fucking same that it would when it fucking did, you know? So I think that's weird. I'll tell you this. This was my biggest conspiracy, okay?
Go ahead.
I think that might be Anderson Silva calling. Give us a second.
Again, he's calling back just to see.
He just wants to be like, hey, I heard you talk about me. I want rematch with Raf Esparza. No, I think this is my biggest conspiracy theory. Dana talked a little bit about belt psychology, and when you have it, it changes your life. You're that person forever, and you're always the champion. You always have to carry yourself like a champion. Your world is crazy, and I can buy that. In a way, it kind of looked like for the longest time, and it really came in last night, that Anderson Silva was like begging someone, take this away from me. And I think he finally got his wish.
I mean, and that really fits in with everything, too, if you think about him not accepting the rematch. I don't know. I think that's maybe he's just done. He's been doing it forever. He's so dominant. He never had a challenge, really. And, you know.
It's just the weirdest phrasing in the world. Like, oh, so are you done yet? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not done. I go out there and compete. And whatever Dana... And this is my favorite thing. So this very pro-Brazilian crowd now is booing Anderson Silva. They go, all right, I'm here talking with Anderson Silva, and boo. And he goes, okay, respect Chris Weidman. He is now the best. Boo. God bless you all. Boo. It's like Anderson Silva couldn't convince any fan who ever believed in him. Like, it was like watching a hero just fall for some people. And we had a lot of varied responses. We had one guy on Twitter just telling us, like, I'm not watching UFC anymore because he threw that match in a way that was disrespectful for any martial artist. And in a way, you can maybe make that argument, but in another way, it's still fucking crazy. I even tried consoling him. I'm like, dude, let's be real. Somebody's going to come along that's another Anderson Silva. Maybe not him, but puts on a great show like that, and he's just like, "Wah, I don't want to."
What was the energy of the crowd afterwards?
Absolutely insane. I got ice thrown at me. I don't know how it happened. I just know that I looked back, and I was sitting down, and I just felt a pelt of ice the minute Anderson Silva got knocked out. I think it was somebody just throwing their drink. Somebody kicked their beer next to me. I had these really dumb people sitting near me, by the way. I was saying that John Evans, if he was sitting right next to me, would have lost his mind at the misinformation that was being spread by these people who are just like, at one point, this is my favorite thing they said. They looked at Roger Gracie and Tim Kennedy, and Tim Kennedy was on top, had like a forearm on Hodger's chin. And then you see Kim Winslow stand them back up, and somebody goes, "Wait, did he just submit Roger Gracie?" And I was like, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but use your brain and use what your eyes saw. And if she's just standing them up, sometimes they do that in a fight. And in actuality, I don't know that I would have stood them up at that moment. So, okay.
That is, knowing about the sport and having watched it for years like you have, and we all have, you look back and you look at those fans and you're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is, how could you spend the money to come to this thing you know nothing about?
Right.
But I think about, I guess it's been a long time. I've been training for a while now, but I remember watching the Matt Hughes,
Royce Gracie fight?
No.
Which one?
Matt Hughes. Well, I remember watching the original Royce Gracie because those were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I knew nothing about it, and nobody in America really knew anything about jiu-jitsu then. So it was just weird. It's like, wait, why did they stop the fight? Yeah. But I remember Matt Hughes versus Carlos Newton, which wasn't even that long ago, in the grand scheme of things. And when he had him in a triangle choke, I didn't even realize it was a choke. I thought Matt Hughes just slammed him, and that was it. But then, of course, you go back and look at it now, and you see Matt Hughes was unconscious from that choke. And so I think, okay. So I was there, too. It's just been a long time.
But at least you had a kind of definite finish. Like, something was happening in yours. Whereas these people just, looked up, and then they get stood back up to fight. But they're still asking a question that's like, I don't know what happened. I think he tapped him out, but they're letting him fight still. It's like,
well, it's Roger Gracie. It's possible.
Okay. You get your first tap free. And they let you keep fighting.
Last name's Gracie. You get a mental darce or something.
So we're transitioning to them now.
Yes.
Any last thoughts on Silva Weidman?
You know what, man? I think it's one of those cornerstones in sports, and as confused as I was still seeing it, my eyes saw what they saw, but they don't know what they saw. I'm still really happy I got to see it live. I've always wanted to see Anderson Silva fight. I still would like to see him fight live, but I there's something about it that I will never forget being there in that moment. And I think that happened for a lot of fans. And that's why when you ask what the spectacle was like, I had a lot of texts from my friends asking me what happened and can you explain this? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the fuck I just saw. It was the weirdest, most exciting, crazy fucking nonsense I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know if that came across on TV, but it was just bizarre. The whole thing was bizarre and crazy and fantastic.
Yeah.
But it just unreal. It was a really unusual turn of events. Just the whole thing, the whole night.
Yeah.
I signed the night off with a text that just said, feels weird, hashtag UFC 162, and that sounds like that sort of sums up our final thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about, just to give them the props they deserve, Edgar versus Oliveira.
Yes.
What a fight.
A great fight.
Are they made of rubber? Have we checked to make sure that they're not made of rubber?
This is, again, another one of those moments where I wish I was actually sitting next to John, because when John will be like, all right, we're going to do our technical stand-up, and you do your version when you're, like, training and, like, at practice and whatever, and then you see the version they do after getting knocked the fuck down and the speed in which they're getting back up, I'm like, fuck it, I quit. I'm not going back to jiu-jitsu. It's too fast. These people are too tiny, and they're hitting each other, and they look like they still hurt. And Frankie's boxing was awesome. Those angles that he finds are the most consistently exciting to watch.
Yeah, man, that fight was just bonkers. Oliveira, being a jiu-jitsu guy, I was impressed because Edgar, his striking has come so far, and you really see when he goes up against, he's been fighting a lot of people that are very good in the striking department.
Yeah.
So you don't get to see him shine as much, even though you still do, because you know he's not necessarily a power puncher. He's not one of those guys that has that one punch knockout power.
Yeah.
But he can knock you out for sure. If he places a punch properly, you're going to go to sleep. But with a high caliber opponent like he always faces, being always in a title fight of some kind, you just never see a huge striking disparity, especially because he's so good with the grappling too. So it wouldn't you wouldn't see a one-dimensional fighter even make it to him or do well against him. Yeah. But we had Oliveira, and I looked at Oliveira much more as a one-dimensional fighter. And I have to say, even though Frankie way outclassed him on the feet, he held his own, and the guy's got a chin.
Yeah.
Because he took some punishment.
Yeah.
Frankie was crisp. He had this great I was actually able to talk to John Danaher, who's his grappling coach at Renzo Gracie Black Belt, afterwards at the press conference, and we were just both talking about how amazing his hands are and how you just don't really have to worry about him.
Yeah.
Like Danaher, basically what he implied is that it's just carefree being his corner to some extent, because he's already doing what you're telling him to do by the time it leaves your mouth.
Do you guys agree with the decision then? I did. I thought it was...
Oh, completely.
Oh, absolutely. It was a one-sided fight. Oliveira, known for submitting from guard, and Frankie Edgar able to keep inside control. Is not side control, but inside control.
Yes.
Being on the inside, hands-wise, is really, really important, especially when a guy has a good close guard where they make a lot of their attacks triangles, specifically in arm bars, off of an overhook. And if you have inside control, if you're on the bottom, you're going to be able to make that make the overhook. And if you're if you have inside control and you're on the top, then you prevent all those overhooks from happening in the first place. And Frankie Edgar did a great job of that. Even when he did get overhooked, he could limp arm out.
Yeah.
And so it just really stifled Oliveira's game. So I thought he was dominant the whole fight.
Gracie gets defeated by Tim Kennedy, another really awesome fight.
It had moments for me. I liked the first round for Hodger. I actually I thought it was a competitive first round. But I was starting to get a little worried about how they were going to define the strikes in that first round, because Hodger really wasn't striking, but just from our jiu-jitsu's perspective, it was cool to watch him trying and setting up things. And I do distinctly remember a body triangle happening.
Yes.
And my first thought is that's the one place I just would never want to be. Being me. Because I'm just like, that looks like an awful time. So Tim Kennedy being able to weather that, and really I knew that would be his offensive onslaught in that moment. I said that's going to be Hodger's best moment to try and close that fight. And it looked like toward the end of that round, he was closer. But in the second round, Tim got his bearings back and just came back and really put on a nice display. The thing that was really interesting was seeing how Tim was realizing he may lose the jiu-jitsu game, but that he could probably win the takedown game. And it was cool to see that happening.
And the pressure game.
Yep.
I thought that was ultimately what really just sort of won him the decision, was Kennedy just nonstop pressure.
Yeah, that's what he's known for, and I have to say Kennedy did a fantastic job. He did exactly what he should have done going into there, and I love the way he didn't give Hodger respect even towards round 2 and 3, where he was clearly put to Roger, and Roger was visibly tired.
Yeah.
He even attempted to take Hodger's back, and you don't do that unless you have confidence.
Yeah.
Because anyone that's studied Hodger Gracie knows his jiu-jitsu game, knows he's the winningest jiu-jitsu athlete ever, and his grappling is just sick. So hats off to Tim Kennedy. He did what he did best, and that's put on a pace that is just unrelenting, and he went out there and did not give Hodger the respect that most people probably would.
And one thing I really liked about Tim is, first of all, during the press conference, he just sat there. Like, nobody asked him a question at all. So I felt really bad. Like, I wanted to get the mic and just be like, Tim, I have a question for you. Are you okay?
How you doing, man?
How you doing, buddy?
Mark. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to finish this. But he mentioned, Tim Kennedy was like, I roll with really high-level guys, and they don't tend to get my back. And Hodger got my back. And he goes, I'm not used to that, but it was tough, and I got through it, but it was kind of exciting. It's one of those things where you're just like, I can do this. And I think that's one of those moments where I realized he could break it.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, too. I'm sure Tim is a great grappler, and I'm sure he trains with great grapplers, but you cannot emulate Hodger Gracie.
Nope.
Impossible. And just sorry to carry on this one, just technically, because I was, this match was, I love Tim Kennedy, but coming from the jiu-jitsu side, it was really hard for me to watch. It looked to me as if, well, first of all, like, I don't like the way that the gloves for grapplers.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been a finished fight right there if Hodger didn't have those big, bulky gloves that your opponent holds on to. So that, for one, is crappy about MMA. It's something that needs to change, but I don't even know how they're going to do it. The other thing is standing them up when they're on the ground and there's a perceived lack of activity, which is just nuts to me. That's like, you wouldn't take two boxers, and if they're just throwing more feints than punches, you wouldn't set them on the ground. It just doesn't make any sense. So why do the opposite? The other thing is, and I talked to Danaher again about that, because Danaher training at Hinzo with Hodger before he moved to the UK, very good friends. They've trained a lot. I asked him about the body triangle. Because it was so, and he said normally that's done. When Hodger puts on that body triangle, game over. And I was surprised, because I thought maybe he had fallen into that trap of like BJ Penn versus Fitch, where he, I don't think Penn had the body triangle, but he had his legs crossed when he had the back, and Fitch was able to spin and come up in guard. And the same thing happened with Hodger. But I know Danaher said that that's usually game over, but it just makes me think, I mean, Hodger's 6'5", Kennedy's not that big. When there's that much space in the legs there, even with a body triangle, that spin is always there, and that was a bummer to see. But then the main thing for me was that Hodger looked like he had not trained adequately for constant pressure and constant punches intermixed into the grappling, because he was getting popped hard in the face from positions where he seemed a little lackadaisical. Like he wasn't. There was no sense of urgency. He was in turtle, and he was just taking these punches that he.
I'm gonna have to field captain this one. We are now over our 5-minute mark with Kennedy and Gracie. I will give you a 20-second ending.
That was it.
Because I like you, John. Oh, okay.
No, I appreciate it. That was it. It was just a bummer to see. It made me feel like he should have changed his training camp, or something was wrong with his training camp. So, but good job for.
Yeah, he's gonna have to up the intensity. Well, or Kennedy's just insane. One of the two.
True.
Mark Munoz was throwing punches, and he defeated Tim Bush, but he was throwing punches like he was trying to put his fist through Tim Bush, including at one point he hit him from like a full-on top to bottom right in the chest. And you could see Tim was just like, why the fuck are you hitting me so hard on my body? That fucking kills. Like, please stop it. I'm no closer to losing. I just don't like you. That's what it felt like. How loud were they from the auditorium? Because you hear these blows as they're getting landed?
Yes. And, I said I was going for Mark Munoz last week, and you know how sometimes you can change your opinion as you get closer to the week and go like, I don't know. I just found that the more I heard Mark Munoz talk during the week, the more I just wanted him to win.
Okay,
and
that's good. So you went the opposite. You went conservative style. You went American and didn't change your opinion. I love it.
Right, no matter what people told me.
Nope, doesn't matter what happened all week.
America, true 4th of July. But I was looking at him and I just go, I'm so happy he seems back. He's in a good place. Dude, I was in the press room when they were doing like photos with some of the fighters. He popped back in there, literally takes off his shirt, and dude was so ridiculously ripped that you're like, I couldn't fathom you at 261. Just like, you're lying to me. You were in one of those magazine ads. You took a pill, and that's the kind of thing that happened. Like, it actually worked. But I was really excited. And I knew even when he was kind of in trouble, it was so exciting to see him get back and get control. And I don't know, it was entirely enthralling. And the best part about the post-presser was when they said if Chris Weidman wants a rematch and Anderson Silva doesn't want it, they're like, well, then what happens? And you see Mark raise his hand, like, just without any hesitation, like, I'll take it.
I'll fight him again. I won't get hit in the face with an elbow. With that.
Quick shout out to our 70-year plus audience members. He did look like on the back of a comic book, the Atlas before and after. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Just, the people at Gray Gables or whatever retirement home that are listening.
John Evans, ladies and gentlemen, because number one in MMA podcasting for the over 70 community, Cub Swanson defeats Dennis Seaver. John, is this as impressive a win as Cub Swanson needed to sort of get elevated within his division?
I'll tell you what, Kevin, it was quite impressive. This may have been the breakout performance of the night for me. I was shocked. I've seen Cub fight before, and he looks real dominant when he's against a mismatch, as people tend to do. But then going against better competition, he just seemed to flounder a little bit. And seeing him against Seaver, who has a perceived huge advantage.
Oh, yeah, big in striking.
Yeah.
And to see him just go out there and just put it to him, like, oh man. And the way that he did it, too, he had that beautiful Harai Goshi judo throw.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's like an Uchimata, but you're on the far leg. Oh, God.
I'm not going to lie, Kev. I literally texted John when I saw that, and I was like, teach me that. Teach me to always judo throw into mount, please.
It was he threw it, and then I think he had if I remember correctly, he had an overhook, and that's how he threw it, because all those judo throws are hard to do without a gi, so you have to use overhooks and other grips. And so he used the overhook, and he kept the overhook as he threw it, and then when Seaver tried to turn into him and come up to the knees on a single leg, he did a high step where you pull up the arm and you step high into the crotch of your opponent, and you put your hip weight on their chest, and it pushes them right down to the floor. And that's the way he was able to maintain the mount, even when Silva was trying to push him off and come up on that single leg again. He was able to use that same technique to maintain the mount, and using the mix-up of the threat of takedowns and the grappling with his striking. Then he was able to take a clear advantage in the striking too. He just looked very sharp and on point. It was a great fight to see.
He's a black belt also in jiu-jitsu, which I was like, okay. I found that out during the watching on my iPad again. So
I know he was a good jiu-jitsu guy, but I didn't know
black
he was
belt.
Well, that makes sense because you see a lot of the grappling in MMA where they'll miss little things that really make a big difference in a fight, like not doing the arm pull high step to maintain the mount, because that could be the difference. If you don't do the high step and you pull up on the arm to keep them on their back, that's the difference of you staying in mount and pummeling their face and winning the fight, or them coming into your guard and doing the opposite to you. So it was great to see somebody get those little things right, because that's what makes for a win.
Correct.
But yeah, excited
stoked to see Swanson at 145 though. I think the future's bright for his confidence and his ability.
Was that fight was at 145?
Yeah.
Yes. Seaver is 145?
He got down to 145 for this fight, barely.
And then was back at 250?
Yeah, then he was... They said he was tough. It was a tough... That's what... You know it's bad when they say that? They were like, it was a tough weight cut for Seaver. And it's like, uh-oh.
He's humongous. I can't imagine him at 145.
Water weight's a hell of a drug. Yeah. Shout-outs to Andrew Craig, who defeats Chris Lieben.
Yeah, that fight, I just want to touch really quickly on these last couple fights, but I had a lot of respect for Lieben. It looked like he was out, and he fought his way back into that, and it's one of those moments where he doesn't win, but that was just fucking heart when he got back into that fight. By all means, he shouldn't have been back in, because he zombied his way through a second round. And when that third round looked like it was just done, like I start feeling bad when those moments happen, where I'm like, I don't want to see this. Like, this is just someone dying in front of you.
That chin is legendary.
Yeah, Lieben's hard to knock out. He always has been. Split decision. All right. Well, Lieben will be back, we hope.
Dana seemed a little positive. He didn't want to take any of the bait for any retirement talk with Lieben. He just said that he cared about him. So hopefully we get to see him do it again. But Dana just goes, I basically want to just see him wake up every morning and be okay and contribute to society.
And Dana was also really positive about Lieben coming into this fight, because he said he loves to see Lieben healthy and happy, and that's the way Lieben looked. And honestly, Lieben, I know I'm sure he's super dejected and worried about his career and all of that, but I thought Lieben actually looked much more technical than we normally see him. I know people talk about his submission game, which is honestly not that great, sorry, Lieben. But to see him mix up the striking with the takedowns and do it pretty well, in that first round, he had some good starts to his offense.
It
was. I think he needs to keep going that avenue. I know it's hard to take anything good away from a loss like that, but he really did that right, and he needs to keep going with that, because he'll be successful in the future.
Now, Kev, tell me about Norman Park and Tokyo Dome, because I was not around for that one.
Park versus Tokyo Dome. Unanimous decision. It was a fine fight. I was kind of half watching, and it never really got my full attention, sadly.
Tokyo Dome, he got hit a lot.
Yeah, Park landed about 15 strikes every time Tokyo Dome blinked. It was basically just what the fight looked like.
But somebody who did connect the strike was Gabriel Gonzaga. Can we talk about that very quickly?
Big KO over white-sounding name Dave Herman.
Fourth fastest knockout in UFC history.
Is it really?
It was 17 seconds.
Yep.
It was overhand right as a counter to the leg kick. That was just, it was so fast. I looked up and it was done. It's crazy. But good job for Nepal.
That's funny. 17 seconds is the fourth fastest. I would think all of them were at the 10-second range.
I'm actually quoting another journalist, so I never actually researched that. That's just what somebody told me.
Somebody did say that. I was surprised too when they said that, because 17 does seem a little. I mean, that's super fast, but we've just seen some that I think were like 9 or something like that.
Like it's up there. But I just love the fact that when they asked him, they're like, in the media room, they just went up to him and they go, "How does it feel to have the fourth fastest knockout of all time?" And he just goes, "Good."
Good. I was happy to see Rafaelo Oliveira lose only because it put a small hole in your Rafs are always winning.
They still have a very
good record.
Percentage. Yeah.
They do have a fairly good percentage, but Barbosa TK'd out round 2.
With leg kicks, right?
It doesn't say in the final decision.
Leg kicks, I believe so. I actually didn't see that fight, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
Just because how often do you see a leg kick finish? It's great. You can always tell when there's a good Muay Thai guy that goes up against someone that hasn't trained with the leg kicks. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
It's always the most violent knockouts.
It's
Melancon defeats Basitsky.
I wanted to feel better about it, but I think I felt a little melancholy about it.
It's Melansan or something like that.
No, I like mine better. I'm going to call him Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Mike Pierce defeats David Mitchell TK round 2, and that is all of the fights in what was a real firework-inspired event.
Shut up, Kevin. That's the worst pun you've done so far.
Happy
you
July
started
4th.
it. I started it. Couple quick last notes. Fight of the night went to Frankie Edgar and Charles Oliveira, with Cub Swanson and Dennis Seaver also splitting the honors because they didn't have a submission of the night. Knocked up the night. Dana left it at this: if you can't fucking figure out who got knocked out of the night, well, fuck you.
That was nearly verbatim,
yeah.
Honestly.
Did Anderson Silva get the Emmy for his inspiring performance in From Dusk Till Nobody? For that?
He was the drunken master.
I assumed he got some sort of acting award for his impressions of someone who's asleep.
They were really good.
Yeah, they were good. I feel like we're going to live in this world for a while. And this is what I realized last night, because John will attest to this. Maybe at about 3 a.m., I started repiecing the fight back together again, because I was like, my mind just doesn't work.
Best time to do it.
Still am trying to replay it, and I did it like a crime scene where I'm like, I'm Anderson Silva, you're Chris Weidman, stand right here. So then you come in this way, this didn't happen, and what the fuck?
Yeah. Back into the left.
Yeah, and when your brain just is a little confused like that, I think it's just one of those events we're going to talk about for a good while. Like, this event isn't going away. I think this is going to be something that people are going to cite for a long while in whatever opinion they have of Anderson Silva, good or bad.
Yeah, UFC 162 is in the books. I'm looking forward to your guys' video stuff and just hearing more about it. And you can get all of your coverage over at where, Raf? Will we get to see some of this?
Some of it is going to be on mmanit.se. Some of it may be in Swedish, so have fun with that, folks.
And Auf Wiedersehen, or whatever they say in Swedish.
The good folks over at MMANIT, that's MMANYTT.se, when they put some of the stuff up there, they actually asked for our logo. So it looks like we're going to be getting some credit here at Verbal Tap as well, Kevin.
Yeah!
Which is kind of nice. And we're also going to have some original footage put up for us as well that will be on VerbalTapCast.com. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be whenever the shit I can get around to that, because I've got a show this week. And John Evans is actually going to have some of his interviews and grappling matches up there from the super fights that he will be breaking down in due time, because, guys, John Evans is not just a piece of meat. He can't just work to whatever expectations you have. They'll be up when they're up.
Performance monkey? Is that what we were calling?
We were calling it performance monkey. Okay. Evans wants to see the impression I have of him.
I do.
Yeah.
But in Raf's immortal words, I'm not a performance monkey.
No, I'm not. I'll show it when I show it.
That's right. Patience is a virtue.
Yep. But yeah,
it's time for shout-outs?
Yes, sir.
I'll go first, because mine are probably going to be a shorter list. BJJ and MMA Academy out in Chantilly. No Concept over in Maryland. Guys, have you not heard about BJJ Finder yet? If you haven't, I don't know why you're listening to the show. I mean, it goes hand in hand with everything we're doing. Check out BJJ Finder. Make sure wherever you train is registered. It's the world's premier Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school locator. Please go over BJJ Finder. Check it out. And I would like to say, Jacob, we all felt unfulfilled by UFC 162's main event. And that is his shout-out. To you, good sir, Raph.
I'm going to defer a couple to John, though. John, do you have any shout-outs right now?
Was that Jacob, like the jeweler? Is that...
It was Jacob, like my friend Jacob, John. Okay, shout-out privileges revoked. That was your one chance.
Shut up,
Friends with
Kevin.
the jeweler?
Yes.
Okay.
He's Jingleheimer Schmidt.
I know you guys are blinging out at VerbalTapCast.
Yes, yes.
Was that for the over 70 crowd? They love that gist.
It's you guys have no idea.
Oh
I know
my
it was
God.
over your heads, but...
John, who do you have to shout out today?
I want to give a big shout out to Jeff Glover for being an awesome guy, giving me a great interview, and just putting on a great performance always in grappling. And same thing with Dean Lister. Love the bark style, and love the continual attack on leg locks, and he's just a good guy and gave a great interview as well. And also BJJBreakdown.com, and you can come there and see me breaking down some of the latest in grappling tournament matches.
Good. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go to my cab driver who was a really big UFC fan. I think he saw me wearing some like UFC credentials, and he was just kind of like, hey, that's what you're doing? I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's awesome. I'm a huge fan. I was like, tell you what, dude, you listen, I will shout you out. So I'm doing that to you, Antonio. Awesome dude. Really cool. Gives a good fare, so if you get a chance, catch up with him. He's a nice guy. I'd also like to shout out Karen Bryant, who couldn't have been nicer to us. I don't know if you guys follow her. If you watch any MMA, it's very likely that you see her reporting. She just does some of the best caliber type of reporting that's both personable and informative. I just really liked her. And John and I got the chance to actually talk with her and
awesome.
her team.
Yeah,
she couldn't have
really
been nicer
cool.
to us, and she doesn't need to be nice to us because who the hell are we? And let's go ahead.
MMA Heat, right?
MMA Heat is the name of her own reporting. So look that up, you guys. And we want to shout out to Jimmy Quinlan. Thank you so much, man. We look forward. We're going to try and get you on the show now because you're a dick. And you weren't around at the right time. We were trying to get you on Swedish television. To our friend Bubba McDaniel, so good to get to see you. We did get to chat with him. We are going to have video of that. We're going to put that up sometime in the near future. And, Kevin, exclusive premiere, we will be able to talk with Bubba before his next fight. We set up a little bit of a time.
Big moment. Game changer, Raph Esparza. Game changer.
Yeah, well, you know, he's good people, and he's excited to talk to us, and he said for me to give you his best, and I told him I wouldn't. I would give you his worst.
Gotta love that guy. He's great. He's a people person.
He is.
Are we done with your shout-outs?
I did do Valley Martial Arts earlier, so I'll just say it one more time. Valley Martial Arts. Good people. Great training. I'll probably be back there some point this week. Super rusty and very eager to try the new barking method.
Raph Esparza, super rusty. This is Verbal Tap, and I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight, everybody.